Hi, my name is Sherry Pittman, and I'd like to welcome you to another segment of Survive and Thrive with Sherry. Today, we have with us two very special guests. We have Paul and Jeanette Peak.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. As you guys know, we like to talk about marriage. We don't always get to do it, but today we do get to talk about marriage. I'm really excited because with Paul and Jeanette, we have a wonderful segment planned. So why don't we start out with our kind of traditional question, and that is, what attracted you to the person that caused you to buy in?
You want to go or you want me to go?
I'm sure I can answer that question. Well, when Paul first saw me, I noticed how he looked me in my eyes. And to me, that was a sign that he was interested in me. And I liked his confidence, you know, because he approached me at a time when he had been going through some things in his life. And I just thought it was amazing that he would walk up and act as if though, you know, he knew me or something, and he just approached me with confidence, and I thought that was an attraction for me.
So the confidence.
Mm-hmm, the confidence, yeah.
Okay. Paul?
Well, since I was a young man, I remember Diana Ross. She was always one of the women that I always thought was such a beautiful woman. So I've had an affinity towards black women from way back in my youth, and when I saw Jeanette, she was the ultimate black woman.
The ultimate.
Yeah.
What made her the ultimate?
Oh, just the grace that she had and the beauty that she had, and you know, to be honest about it, I needed, and I don't want to say, you know, a strong black woman. I don't like using that phrase necessarily, but I was coming through a tough time in my life where I needed someone to hold me accountable, and as I got to know Jeanette, you know, she was a fantastic accountability partner because she really don't put up with a lot of mess. And I was trying to put some structure into my life at that time. And I know that God brought into my life at that stage of my life, for that purpose, to help hold me accountable and to learn how to make decisions in a different manner than what I had become accustomed to making.
How long did it take you to figure out that she didn't put up with a lot of mess, as you say?
Probably like the second phone conversation that we had, because our first couple of contacts was strictly by phone. You know, she wasn't willing to see me, you know, to be with me, and you know, just those things. You know, typically when you're interested in someone and you know, getting to know someone, you do it in person and live and in person. And Jeanette was, you know, she had some boundaries and stuff, and she held to them. So I could tell from the very early that, you know, this is going to be a process.
Okay, this is going to be a process.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeanette, you want to respond any to that?
Well, you know, again, I've been single for several years, and I just wanted to make sure that, you know, he was the right one. So I didn't want to open up the door to just anyone until they had proven themselves. And so I just, you know, let him know that you can't get past go unless you're for real. And after I realized that he had such a sincere heart, especially towards the things of God, and that he had my best interest at heart. So I finally opened up the door, and here we are 10 years later.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad you mentioned that 10 year, because you guys just celebrated an anniversary, right?
True that, yeah.
Okay, so in 10 years, it takes some adjustments, some changes in us as individuals to go the distance. Some people don't make it 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months. So you've made it 10 years. Jeanette, what kinds of things have you had to internally change in order to make this relationship work?
Well, I had always been very career driven, and I had not been in a very long relationship in previous relationships, and I was used to making my own decisions for a very long time. And so to have this man in my life who would also help me make decisions and also lead in some of those decisions, I had to make some adjustments to know that it was okay to do, and that we would share decisions together, and it's not just me any longer. So I had to adjust internally to say, you know what, this is your spouse for eternity, and therefore you should work together as one. And so I had to learn that, and it was a process. I don't have biological kids, but I have 3 beautiful children through our marriage, and I don't even call them my stepkids. They are my children. And even adjusting to the fact that I didn't have kids and Paul had kids before we got married, and bringing that blended family together, it took a little adjustment time for the both of us, actually. But we have a very healthy marriage. I'm very close to my children, all 3 of them. My 6 grandchildren, they call me grandma. Even though, of course, as you can tell, we're from different cultural backgrounds, but we don't. Our families are just one, and it's a wonderful thing. So I'm glad that I made those adjustments and allowed myself to open up to such a wonderful man and just enjoy what God had blessed me with.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Paul, what have you had to change internally in order to make this relationship work?
Not to. I grew up in a household, where I don't want to call my dad chauvinistic, but he was very domineering and
chauvinistic. No.
I don't know if he's going to be watching this. So I got to be careful.
He loves you, right?
And Mom was okay with Dad being the head of the house.
Sure.
And making all the decisions. So, I think that's the thing that I've had to learn with Jeanette is to allow Jeanette to speak, not just allow her to speak her mind, but also for me to listen to what she's saying and allow her to be part of the decision making in business. I've been in business for 27 years prior to meeting Jeanette with in the farming business. I farmed with 5 brothers before, and the wives they had no idea what was going on in the farm business. We made the decisions and we made them work,
Right.
And so to have a business partner that's my wife, learning how to allow Jeanette to have a voice in the decision making, and to learn how to allow Jeanette to be my helpmate that God had created her to be, and that wasn't natural for me. It wasn't comfortable at first to allow a woman to give me direction,
Have a say.
Yeah. So I think that was a process also to a lot of times I would like what I was hearing her saying. It made sense, but it would have been a lot better if it was me saying it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I wish I'd have thought of that.
Yeah. And so, but I think that's helped our business to, I know it, there's no thinking it has. It made us, the business what it is today, for us to work together and to recognize, what her strengths are, and her recognizing what my strengths are. And whether it's in the marriage part or in the business part, that we bring our strengths together and allow each other to operate in what the gift that God's given us.
Totally awesome. Man, I just loved hearing you say that. I had several thoughts. One is, what would you say to other men, much like yourself, who are accustomed to taking care of the business? Because, again, you were 27 years ahead of her in terms of business, and this was her first venture. And by the way, we should say the business is PJP Auto. A lot of people know that, of course, but some don't. This will be aired internationally through YouTube. So other men who, even Mid-East, dare we say, who might be accustomed to, or maybe even those who may have that thought process that there's not a whole lot that a woman should be contributing. She should be in that one category. What would you say?
Well, I think if we understand, when God says that she's our helpmate, obviously that means we need help. God wouldn't designate Jeanette to be my helpmate if I didn't need help. So the first thing that I had to come to realize is that there's areas that I'm weak in, and that's not to say that I'm less of a man,
right?
Because I have areas that I'm not gifted in. But, you know, I think, you know, to recognize the fact that she's not there to fight against me or to, you know, to make me feel any less than, but, you know, she's there to enhance the skills that God's given me to complement them. You know, she complements my weaknesses, and between the, you know, when God says the two become one flesh, you know, Jeanette and I as one flesh, you know, there's many more things that we can accomplish as that one flesh than what we could, each one of us, if we tried to operate individually. Gotcha.
Now, you guys have some real obvious differences, and I mean, obviously black and white, male, female, all that, a little bit younger, a little bit older. We have city and country, and just a variety of different types of differences. But before we talk about that, Jeanette, can you respond a little bit to the women who may be in a relationship with their spouse that is kind of new to them, the spouse, the male, for them to receive an idea from their partner? Can you give them some tips as to how to go through that process a little bit more easier?
I think one of the things that you really have to focus in on is understanding the male ego and how it is important that he feels in charge. You have to have the confidence to know that God has given you these different gifts and talents, and how you bring it to the person a lot of times can make the difference, how you present it. So sometimes when we have different things in the business that I would like to change, I have to remember, okay, you know, he's been in charge for 27 years of his previous business, and so he's not used to a female coming in and kind of running the show, so to speak. So I do try to present it in a palatable way where he doesn't feel like I'm trying to take charge or take control. I think as he has acknowledged that, you know, with me, I have certain gifts and talents that I can bring to the table to enhance our business and to enhance what he does. And you know, he's he loves to sell. He has that ADD personality. He does not like being at a desk. For me, that is what I thrive in. You know, I do it gracefully. It doesn't stress me out. It would stress him out if he had to do that, and it would stress me out if I had to sell cars. And so we kind of, you know, understand our strengths and weaknesses, and we kind of stay in our lanes. And I think with understanding that, you know, it complements, like you said, you know, like Paul said, we complement one another. And so when you present it to your working spouse, because, you know, a lot of people ask us, what is it like to work side by side in the business? And we have sliding doors where we can see each other and so on. So
I love this. We're going to talk more about this when we come back from break. We'll be right back.
See you in a minute.
Hi, my name is Sherry Pittman, and I'd like to welcome you to join us in watching Survive and Thrive with Sherry every Wednesday morning at 7:30 a.m. on Fox Channel 7 WRSP. You can also catch us on Access 4 at 10:30, 4:30, and again at 10:30 p.m. We look forward to having you join us watching the show. We love to talk about marriages and other things as well, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you. Hi, this is Sherry Pittman. We're back with Paul and Jeanette Peak, and we're just sitting here having a great little time. In fact, we were just talking about the whole black-white piece, which everybody wants to know, or lots of people want to know. So we're just going to put that piece on the table for you right now. But it's not just the black-white piece. There are some cultural differences. Paul was just talking a little bit about that, and he's going to talk more in a second. But there's also the younger and older. We have a city and a country. I think we really should talk a little bit about that. But let's go to get the black-white piece on the table and move on. So, Paul, you want to address that?
Well, yeah. You know, I've had to listen to Jeanette and to learn to understand the black culture, and because some of the different ideas and things, Jeanette would process differently than me, and I, early in our marriage, I would think, well, why is that such a big deal? Or certain terms or something that really didn't mean anything, weren't offensive to me, and
I'm going to mess with you here a little bit, Paul, because I know you have a great sense of humor and you can take it. One of those terms wouldn't have been the You People one, was it?
There was that one. There was, just so many different things that that Jeanette would be very, almost afraid. Almost afraid of what I would say when I'm, around other black people, because I didn't know how certain phrases.
Sure. It would be like her with your farmer friends.
Yeah. And
she starts to say something, and it's like, that doesn't fly with the farmers.
Right. That's not funny for them.
Right.
And a lot of times I say stuff just off the cuff, and I know Jeanette would be a little bit nervous about, what's he going to say? So
did you guys have conversations about that? Did you have communication and you had discussions? That's like dinner time, or, did you handle it calmly even?
We did. I mean, we did, because I wanted to learn. I didn't want to embarrass my wife, with her people.
Or yourself. Or yourself.
So, I'm pretty hard to embarrass personally. But, so we talked about different things, and just learning. I felt like I should understand if I'm going to be involved in my wife's life, which that's hard to say if you're going to say it very fast, my wife's life. But I need to understand, her culture, and that way I can relate to her friends and her family and things like that. And I think with Jeanette, going to the country, and that might have been a bit of a challenge for her at first. Not so much that it was white country.
I just saw her all of a sudden with her heels out in the field.
The first time she went to the country, I took her through this. I don't think we were married at the time.
I think we were engaged, and that was the first time we met.
Hog confinement. I took her through this hog confinement, and she did have her heels on.
Well, see, I wasn't forewarned that I would be going through the family farm to take a tour. I was masked. I didn't get a mask, but I thought I was just going to meet his parents and some of his brothers and sisters. So I had my heels on, which is like kind of normal. And we're walking through, and then his mom says, let me take you out to see about,
It was 4-H time, so they were getting all the pigs up and getting them groomed for the fair,
I was like, oh yeah, very impressed.
Did you wipe your heels off?
She threw them away. But we've just learning to, I think because of our love for each other, we've made it a point to understand or to learn about what I want to know, what makes Jeanette think and react the way that she does, so that, because I don't want to do anything that would hurt her,
well, sure,
or offend her or embarrass her.
Right.
So,
well, let me jump in there and go a slightly different direction, because we talked a little bit about city and country girl, city girl and the country boy, and how that flowed a little bit about the black and white. But let's talk about like the younger and older. Do you guys have you had to make some adjustments? I mean, a little bit of education about maybe older music, or because there's time frames there too.
I would say we're 10 years apart, but the adjustment is not necessarily because of the age span. It's because of the cultural span. So, like, I didn't listen to 38 Special. So some of his music, that he prefers, now he listens to a variety of music, and so do I, but there's certain music that I didn't listen to growing up, so I wasn't aware of those kinds of,
Well, he was listening to Diana Ross.
So he was a step ahead of me,
Right.
But as far as like the age difference,
not a big thing.
It hasn't been. He's pretty laid back, easygoing, goes with the flow. So
and grandma.
Yeah, and you know what? He has a lot of energy. Yeah, I mean, he has a lot of energy. So you would know that he was that much older than me. Yes, he has Alice. He has platinum hair, but energy-wise, he is, always on the go. As a matter of fact, now coming from Chicago,
yes,
originally, we walk fast.
Yes.
And now that I've lived in Springfield for 20-something years,
right,
I walk a lot slower.
Okay.
Well, he still walks faster than me now.
Wow.
And I'm going like, but you're older than me. How do you do it? But he just still has that.
I haven't grown up yet. I may be 50. I may be 5 or 10 years older by age, but not by my mindset.
So we, it doesn't seem to be an issue with us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about, we talked about the car dealership. Let's talk a little bit about ministry and what this, I see you guys have a lot of differences, but one of the things that I think you both have is that you're strong-willed. Now, that's not a difference, and sometimes that can be the locking of the horns type of thing. But it seems that you both have the grace to do that. Can you, and you do it in ministry as well, is that correct? Can you speak a little bit about your ministry work? Let's just go there for a second, and particularly in terms of how you lead in the area in which you serve.
Well, we work with an overcomer ministry at church, which is a recovering ministry. I'm a recovering man myself, and Jeanette may not have experienced the use of drugs, but in ministry, the thing that we try to impress upon the people that we work with or share fellowship with is that we're not trying to develop them to a place of being a recovering person, but our desire is for them to become men and women of God. And in the process of becoming a man of God or a woman of God, you're going to lay down the strongholds, whatever they are, whether it's food, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever it is. If we can give the picture to people that God's got something greater in life than what you're experiencing here, no matter what it is you're experiencing, if we look and see what God's got for you and begin to press towards that, all these other shackles are going to come off.
They're going to come off in due time and perhaps in His time.
And I want to say this, that, I know in the recovery community that, they talk about mentors and sponsors and things like that, and want you to deal with people that are walking through the same thing that you're walking through. And we've got a little different twist on that. I don't believe that, we're not trying to deal with people's past or try to lead them, back to that. But, Jeanette can be just as good a mentor for someone that's struggling with drugs or alcohol as what I could be, because she's just as much a woman of God as what I am a man of God, and that's the goal that we're all trying to attain to, is to be a godly person. So, when it comes to mentorship or discipleship, we encourage everyone to find someone whose life you want to emulate, not someone that's lived the life that you've lived in the past, because we're not going back to the past.
Right.
And I think too, you have to look beyond the person's faults and their issues and see what they truly need. And I truly believe that most of us long for love. And so when people come to Overcomers, which is through Abundant Faith Christian Center, they have a need that may seem so great that they've mastered with drugs and alcohol, with various relationships, whatever it is. I mean, we cover a gamut of things. And so when the men and women come in there, we have a lot of grace, because where would we be, what I'm saying, if God didn't bless us enough to get out of that situation. And so we don't judge people when they come in, especially because we know that they have such a great need and they're trying to get to that place. And sometimes that struggle seems so long, it seems so lonely, that we want to let them know that, hey, you can be here, this is a safe haven, and come and be restored. So awesome. We try not to judge people just because they've had a background in certain areas of their lives, and we want to see them healthy and happy and walking a whole life, in Christ, and not be so consumed with, what other people think, or just those kinds of things. We try to keep that out of the ministry, but we enjoy working side by side. We balance each other off in ministry as well as in business, but it seems like even though I haven't done the drugs and alcohol, especially the women, my heart is for women, that I can help them get to that point of strength and to help them so they can have a higher self-esteem and more confidence in themselves. So I know what my role is too.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad you answered that question, because I was going to ask that very same thing. You guys talk about the grace, and it seems to me that both of you came into the relationship with your own measure of grace. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing that made, you mentioned earlier that we're both strong-willed people. I think that's, that is an asset to be strong-willed, but also to learn how to not let that strength be on the forefront, but to learn how to harness it. And, we don't have very, very seldom do we have fights or arguments or whatever you want to call them, because we've learned that it's not always important to be right. It doesn't, just because I'm the man, the head of the house, or whatever you want to term it, doesn't mean that I have to be the one that makes the final decision. So sometimes it's better just to sit back and not respond and not say anything. You can win the battle and lose the war.
Absolutely.
And I would just as soon win the war and lose a battle here and there.
Absolutely.
He's a smart man.
He's a smart
Well, I've got battle scars to show.
And she's a smart woman. Yeah. It works both ways.
Yeah.
Well, you guys have been wonderful. I would have loved to have spent a full-blown hour with you. You have so much to offer. Community-wise, I know you both are very much involved with the business, with ministry. You are an exemplary couple, and I love the fact that you have all the differences, because that lets other people know that if you have those differences and can make it, they can certainly make it too. We're up and out. We'll see you next week. Thanks a lot.